Welcome students. Today we are going to revise what is a sentence. What is a sentence? Sentence is a group of words that make a complete sense. Suppose if I say Jia mangoes. Is it a sentence? No, obviously not, because it doesn't make any sense. But if I write Jia eats mangoes, Jia eats mangoes. Now is it a sentence? Yes. Now this is a sentence because it makes a complete sense. Today let us learn parts of a sentence. Sentence basically has two main parts, and that are subject and predicate. Parts of a sentence. What are the two main parts? Subject and second one is predicate. What do you understand by subject? Subject is the doer of the action, or it is the person, animal or thing the sentence is about. Okay, who the person, animal or thing the sentence is about. So in our example, Jia eats mangoes. Let us find out the subject and predicate. Now, Jia eats mangoes. Okay, here after reading the sentence, you immediately come to know we are talking about Jia, isn't it? Here, who is doing the action? Jia is doing the action. Okay, so here Jia is the subject. Okay, Jia is the subject because Jia is doing the action. Okay, subject is generally the doer of the action, or it is actually the person or thing whom the sentence is about. Okay, here I have taken a very simple example so that it will be easy for you to understand, but you might have very long sentences. At that time you have to read the sentence very carefully and find out the subject and think what the sentence is about. Okay, so that is the hint for you how you can find out the subject in the sentence. Now, here we have Jia as our subject and eats mangoes. This is our predicate. Okay, eats mangoes is our predicate. Generally, predicate includes verb and the rest of the words in the sentence. Okay. It is not always necessary that every sentence will have object. Now, what is object? Here, the action of eating is done on mangoes, isn't it? So, Jia eats what? Mangoes. So, here mangoes is the object. Okay. Let us circle mangoes. Here mangoes is the object. You already know that here in this sentence, eats is the verb, okay, and this is verb. Eats is the verb and the action of eating is done on mangoes, okay. So object is the thing on which the action is done. Here the action of eating is done on what? Mangoes. So in this sentence, mangoes is our object, okay. Sometimes you may have person in the place of object. At that time it answers the question to whom, okay. Here this is answering the question what? Jia eats what, okay. But sometimes you may have a person in place of object. At that time it will answer the question to whom, okay. So this is just a hint for you how you can find out the subject and predicate, and also subject and object. Now every sentence necessarily has subject and predicate. It may or may not have an object. Now you know what is object. It is the thing on which the action is done, okay. Now let us take an example. Like I said, a sentence necessarily has subject and predicate. For example, Jia eats. Here, Jia is subject and eats is the verb. Here, do we have any object? No, we don't have any object. But still, this sentence is complete. So, here we have Jia as our subject and eats is our predicate. Okay? Jia eats. This is a very short sentence. And here we have both the parts. Jia is our subject and eats is the predicate. Now, let us expand this sentence. Jia eats mangoes and bananas. Okay. Now let us find out. Jia is subject because who is doing the action? Jia. Jia is the doer of the action. So Jia is our subject, and as we already know, just now we have learned that generally the predicate starts from the verb and includes all the words till the last word in the sentence, isn't it? So what will be our predicate here? Eats mangoes and bananas. This is our predicate. This whole thing is our predicate. Now, if you are asked to find out the object, then how will you find out the object? You will just find out on whom the action is being done or on what the action is being done. So here the action of eating is done on mangoes and bananas. So here we have two objects. Okay, we have two objects here, mangoes and bananas. Okay, this way we can have many more examples. Just like we have two objects here, we may even have two subjects. Suppose if I say Riya and Jia. Now, Riya and Jia. So can we say eats? No. We will have to say eat. Jia and Riya eat mangoes and bananas. So here we have Now two subjects, Riya and Jia. Okay, they both are reading. So Riya and Jia are the doer of the action. So our subject will include Riya and Jia both. It, again this is verb. Okay, and mangoes and bananas is our, there are two objects in this sentence, mangoes and bananas. So in this way we can have many more examples. Now let us take some other examples. Suppose if I say Rima is reading. Rima is reading. Okay. Again, this is a complete sentence. It makes complete sense. Yes, Rima is reading. Now, what the sentence is about, or who is the doer of the action here? We are talking about Rima, isn't it? So, who is the subject? Here, Rima is our subject. Okay? Subject. And is reading is our predicate. This is our predicate. Now, do we have any object here? No, we don't have any object here because the sentence is complete. But now if I say Rima is reading a book. Okay. So now when you read the sentence, you understand Rima is the subject. Okay. Is reading is our verb, and now we have the object in this sentence, and the object is book. This is the object. Because the action of doing is done on the book. Reading what? Book. Isn't it? So here we have all the three parts: subject, verb and object. Okay. Now let us see some more examples. Let us quickly revise. Subject is the what the sentence is about. Who or what the sentence is about. Okay, and predicate tells us something more about the subject, what the subject is doing or what happened. This is about the subject. Okay. Students, now let us see some examples from your class book. Class book page numbers 26 and 27. The question is identify the subject, object and predicate. The first sentence is the speaker calls the wind a nuisance. Now read again till you understand. The speaker calls the wind a nuisance. Okay. Now here you can immediately identify the verb. You have already learnt in detail about verbs. So let us identify what is the verb here. Calls. Okay. Calls is the verb. Now you already know that calls is the verb. Okay. Now action of calling. Who is calling? The speaker, isn't it? Who is calling? The speaker. So we come to know that the speaker is the subject here. Subject. Okay. So let us write S for subject here. And now you know what is the predicate. It tells us something about the subject. Okay. So calls the wind a nuisance is a predicate. Let us double underline the predicate. So this whole part calls the wind a nuisance. This whole thing is a predicate. Okay. Now let us find out the object. How can we find out the object? We have to find out on whom the action is being done. Okay. Now the action of calling is done to whom? The speaker is calling whom? The wind, isn't it? So here wind is our object. Okay. And a nuisance is the additional information that is given in our sentence. But now we know that the speaker is our subject. Okay. While marking, you can write S, V, O, P. S is for subject, V is for verb, O is for object, and this whole thing P is for predicate. But whenever you are required to write answer, at that time don't just write S, V, O, P and all. At that time you are going to write it like this: subject, put a dash and write what is our subject here? The speaker. Now next one is predicate. What is our predicate? Calls the wind a nuisance. That whole thing is included in predicate. Calls the wind a nuisance. Okay. What is the verb in this sentence? Verb. I know they have not specifically asked to find out the verb here, but we can always find it out and write it. What is the verb here? Calls. This is for our better understanding and practice. Okay. And what is the object here? Object is wind. Okay. So whenever you are asked this type of question, this is the way you are going to write the answer for this. Okay. You may mark SVOP, but your answer should be in this form. Okay. Now I am just going to discuss the sentences orally, and remember you are going to write it in this form only. Okay. Let's come to the second sentence. The wind seizes her hat and clutches her hair. Okay. Now here, after reading the sentence, you come to know who we are talking about. The sentence is about the wind, isn't it? So that is our subject. What is our subject here? The wind. Okay. Let's read. The wind seizes her hat and clutches her hair. So now you know that predicate starts from the verb. Okay. So seizes her hat and clutches her hair. This whole thing will be your predicate, isn't it? Now if I ask you to find out verbs in this sentence. Now here you have two verbs, isn't it? Seizes and clutches. Here we have two verbs. So Let us see what are the objects in this sentence. Now we have two verbs here and we also have two objects. What are the objects? Her hat and her hair. So hat and hair are the two objects in our sentence. So we have the wind as a subject, seizes her hat and clutches her hair, the predicate. Seizes and clutches are the two verbs in our sentence, and hat and hair are the two objects in this sentence. Let's come to the next. It also tears the leaves and blossom from the pear. It also tears the leaves and blossom from the pear. So, identify the verb first. You immediately understand tears is the verb. Okay. So, here who is doing the action of tearing? It. Here pronoun is used. So, it is our subject. Okay. And you know tears the leaves and blossom from the pear will be our predicate. So, subject is it and tears the leaves and blossom from the pear is our predicate. Okay. What is the verb here? Tears. Isn't it? And the action of tearing is done on whom? It is done on leaves and blossom. So our object will be leaves and blossom. Here we have two objects. Only one verb but objects are two. What are the objects? Leaves and blossom. Now from the pear is the additional information that is given in this sentence. Okay. Now let's come to the fourth one. I love windy days. Okay. This is a very simple sentence. I is the subject and love windy days is the predicate. Now what is the verb? Love. Okay. And what is the object? Windy days is the object. Now let's come to the fifth sentence. Wind helps to fly the kite. Now here try to identify the verb. Here helps to fly. This whole will come under the verb. Okay, this whole thing will come as verb. You will learn in detail about these such type of verbs later on. But for the time being, let us understand here helps to fly is the verb in our sentence. Okay. So, and what is the sentence about? We are talking about the wind. Who is the doer of the action? Wind. So, wind is our subject. Helps to fly the kite. This whole thing is our predicate. Helps to fly is verb and the object is the kite. Okay. Let's come to the sixth sentence. Wind can cause a lot of damage too. Wind can cause a lot of damage too. Again this sentence is about wind. So wind is our subject. Can cause is our verb. You have already learned in detail about auxiliary verb. So here one is auxiliary verb and the other one is the main verb. You already know, isn't it? And a lot of damage too. So here what is the object? It is damage. The word damage is the object. Okay, so in this sentence wind is our subject and can cause a lot of damage too. This whole thing is our predicate. Can cause is verb and the object is damage. Okay. Similarly, we have the next question as add a suitable subject to each sentence. Here some sentences are given. Dash loves to fly kites. So here you may write a proper name, okay, or a pronoun even. You may write name of a boy or you may write he loves to fly kites. It can be anything, okay. Similarly, next one is dash love to sail paper boats. dash love to sail paper boat. Here love is used. It is singular. So maybe you can write names of two friends. Isn't it? Ria and Tia love to sail paper boats. Isn't it? Or you may use the pronoun they. They love to sail paper boats. Next one is dash helps to run windmills. What helps to run windmills? Wind, isn't it? So you may write wind helps to run windmills. And the fourth one is dash are used to produce electricity. So here the answer will be windmills are used to produce electricity. So these are the examples from your class book. Now for additional practice, I shall be giving you some simple sentences in which you have to identify the subject, predicate, verb and object. Let us see what are the sentences. So let us see what is the homework for you today. Class book page numbers 26 and 27, section C1 and C2. And here, as I told you, I will be giving you some additional sentences for additional practice. This you are expected to write the sentences in your notebook and solve it in your notebook. So identify the subject, object and predicate as it is discussed in our video. These are simple sentences. Let's discuss about the fourth one, which is a little bit different. The big black dog barked at the little brown kitten. Here, the big black dog. This whole will be our subject. Okay. Now you know what is the predicate. Everything from barked will be your predicate. And accordingly, what will be the object here? The object will be kitten. Okay, the action is being done on kitten. So kitten will be your object. Okay, so this is the homework for today.